With us live on set here in person after not much sleep last night.
Not much.
Thanks for being with us.
Great to be here.
I name-checked you there because you were one of the folks who said yesterday, no, 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 and then today voted for it.
Yeah.
Why and how?
Yeah. No, great question. And again, you know, it's one of those things when you see the bill coming back from the Senate, you're trying to digest what are the changes, what did they do different? And some of the first numbers that I saw, it does increase the debt. And I believe that the biggest threat to the United States is our debt and our deficits. You know, in 1980, we had right at $1 trillion of debt. Today, we have $37 trillion.
Yep.
We've got to do something about it. I appreciate your remarks regarding GDP growth, but that's not going to be the only thing that gets us out of our debt problems. We're going to have to rein in spending. We're going to have to make reforms. Tariffs is part of it. So it's going to be a multifaceted solution.
So the reason why I bring up spending and debt was because that's such a big issue, right?
Yeah.
This bill's 1,000 pages. I could probably talk about 100 different things in it. But this was, for Democrats, Medicaid, for your side, spending and debt, sort of the issue. Here was Hakeem Jeffries on the floor, and then let me get your reaction.
Don't ever lecture us about fiscal responsibility. Not now, not ever. Mr. Speaker, Republicans are not the party of fiscal responsibility. You are the party of fiscal irresponsibility. Over and over and over again.
Now, you posted today, the more he talked, the more you were a yes, right? But he has a point there, right?
Yes.
And I think that's what gets to it. He's not wrong.
No, and this is where both sides, Republican and Democrat, are responsible for this debt. Now, I've got a bill that really points to a big part of the problem with our debt and deficits, and that's the emergency spending that has happened over the past several decades. $12 trillion of our debt is because of emergency spending. So when there's fires, when there's hurricanes, when there's, of course, COVID was the biggest one, that we don't take that, that's off budget. So all of a sudden we pass these emergency spending bills, 12 trillion of that has been added to our debt. I point that out, like, that's part of the problem. The other part is that we don't have the growth. This is a situation where we kind of go, is it chicken or egg first? We need a growing economy.
Tell me what you like about it. Tell me what got you to yes.
Keeping the tax rates where they're at currently. I mean, I'm a small business owner, come from a family business. Knowing that those tax rates are going to stay where they're at is really important for planning. Also, the border funding is in the bill. You have the defense spending. Golden Dome is a big part.
So I want to ask you about Golden Dome because that's your district.
It is, yes.
In Indiana. Here was Tim Burchett, and then I'll get your reaction.
Yeah.
And I wish we'd have cut down on some of the spending, especially with defense. We gotta, but there is money in there for drones and the hypersonics and all those other things. You can Google all that stuff.
I Googled it. I believe around $16 billion, and then $25 billion as a down payment for the Golden Dome.
Yes.
So how did you sort of go through? Okay, that's obviously a lot of jobs for your district.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, we build the satellites.
Right. And then the concerns. How do you sort of reconcile that and think through that?
Yeah. No, I mean, it is not an easy process, and that's why some days you're like, this is going the wrong direction, and then the next day you know, as you read through the bill, you're just like, no, there's so many good pieces in here. As I looked at it, while there were some pieces that were added in the Senate, they increased the debt. That bothers me because just the debt service alone on the federal budget is $1 trillion that we're spending on debt service for the $37 trillion. Just think what we could do if we didn't have to be paying that debt service. So I've got had some good conversations with the White House, with the staff, with our leadership, and they are all concerned about it as well. We just couldn't put it all. This bill was getting pretty big the way it was, and it's focused more on the economy and growth. We'll come back later, and we'll deal with spending.
So last question for you, and on that point, because we're going to get to your colleague on the other side of the aisle, Henry Cuellar here. The president said today he didn't make any promises. And you just said, we're going to come back to this and make things better down the line. If there were sort of no promises in this, but you say you're going to make things better down the line, how does all that square, and why do you believe that?
Well, because President Trump this administration is already finding waste, fraud, and abuse. Because if you look, the Department of Justice this last week announced 300 people were indicted for scamming Medicaid and Medicare to the tune of $16 billion. We have said continually that there is waste, fraud, and abuse, and the Department of Justice just found it. And there's going to be more of it. And so while this gives the president time to clean up these programs, there's not a revenue problem here. There's too many hands in the cookie jar. And so I think it's time for those sort of pieces to be really focused on. Illegals shouldn't be getting Medicaid. If you're an able-bodied individual and can work, you shouldn't be on Medicaid. So those are going to make a big impact, and we are going to protect Medicaid and Medicare for those who really need it.
Appreciate you coming in. Want to get to the other side of the aisle as well. Marlon Stutzman is a Republican from Indiana.
Thanks, Paul.
Safe travels back. Thank you.
Appreciate it.